everyone, and welcome to Martin's Home and Garden's Houseplant of the Week. This week we're going to be talking about a really awesome plant. It's got these stunning leaves that are all different colors, which is something really important to, look at and talk about. This plant is called McColley's Philodendron, and it is a member of the Araceae family, which is a really broad family of plants. One thing to note about this plant family, though, is that they have these little crystal enzymes in there that are toxic to children and pets, so keep them away from your little paws and your little hands in the house. They are pretty easy to care for. They're one of the more moderate when it comes to care level. They like bright light, probably about 6 hours of indirect sunlight on a nicely lit window, but they can tolerate lower light, so they are pretty moderate when it comes to that. They like filtered water, and to be allow them to dry out in between waterings is really important because they are susceptible to root rot. They need to be fertilized pretty frequently. Philodendrons just in general are kind of foodies. Like there are foodies as people and there are also foodies as plants. And these are some of those. They like a good fertilizer every 3 to 4 weeks in the growing season. I would really just do whatever your fertilizer says. Or if you use something like Super Thrive, which is a plant vitamin, that's also really good for them. With them being susceptible to root rot, just make sure that you've got it in a container that has a drainage hole or multiple drainage holes, because they do really need that as part of your care routine. They are a NASA air purifying plant, which is really awesome because they will remove those toxins indoors, and they provide lots of different benefits in your home. They have an average height indoors of about 1 foot to 3 foot. So that's pretty nice when it comes to philodendron because they're not going to get crazy tall like some other philodendrons do. They're just going to stay kind of small and clumping. And the leaves are going to be what get larger and more striking. They fade from this really pretty burgundy orange color down to a really nice deep green color. So you're always going to have several different color advantages when it comes to this plant. It's going to give you lots of different interests in the home. They are tolerant to your indoor humidity levels, but they aren't going to be upset about a nice misting every now and then. And then also you can take a wet or damp towel and wipe off the leaves pretty frequently just to make sure those dust enzymes aren't all clogging your plant's pores. They are a fast-growing houseplant, especially if they have the care that they want. So they're a really good option when it comes to that. They like an average temperature of around 60 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, so they will love your home. They need a nice, well-drained soil that's pretty high in organic matter. Typically a pH that's slightly acidic, somewhere with 6.1 to 6.5, or a neutral pH, of 6.5 to 7.3. And then really if you're going to repot them, just make sure that you do it in late winter or early spring before all that new growth comes in, so that they can get all set in the pot that they're in. The last thing I guess we could talk about is propagating. These are pretty easy to propagate. They'll propagate in soil or water. I don't really have success very often when it comes to propagating in water, but apparently these are one of the plants that do have success in that. So if you do want to propagate, just make sure you get a nice cutting with a leaf node. Remove the bottom leaves, just to make sure that you don't get any leaves in the water because that'll breed bacteria and stuff. And then you could use a rooting hormone like auxin to make sure that you get that in there. Other than that, these are pretty simple plants. If you need to prune anything, I would just remove some of the older leaves down at the bottom. They'll get kind of slimy and gross anyways, so you'll want to regardless. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know about this plant. If you have any questions, please ask them in our comment section. And thanks for tuning in this week.